is not a sanitized scene. God comes to bring peace because there is a need for peace, not because there is an absence of war. As a kid growing up in Southern California, I remember going surfing on a regular basis. Many of us, I'm sure, in Colorado don't understand going surfing on a regular basis. But let me tell you one thing that I can tell you can probably understand is that going surfing in Southern California required me to drive on the freeways in Southern California, which if you've ever driven on any freeways anywhere in the world, especially here in Colorado, you know that freeways are a place full of cars. And Southern California has even more of them. So going surfing meant constantly fighting the traffic, constantly fighting for parking, constantly fighting to see if you could get those 1 or 2 free parking spaces because everything else was metered. But I came to understand a Christmas tradition a friend of mine introduced me to, that every Christmas morning during my teenage years, I would wake up on Christmas morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, excited not to run downstairs and open presents, but excited to grab my surfboard and head to the beach. And I can tell you the single best thing about those Christmas mornings was not how good the waves were. It was not even the fact I got to go surfing, but it was the moment of peace of getting in my car and driving on a freeway meant for thousands of cars, 6 lanes in each direction, with nobody there. Let me tell you, you've never known peace until you've driven on a freeway with no one on it. I remember those moments of peace and serenity as if the whole world had become still. In the midst of the chaos of the Christmas season, everyone was asleep or barely waking up, beginning to get their coffee. And it was like I was sitting inside of a snow globe that no one had shaken up yet. God brings peace to a world in need of peace. God brings peace where there is war. God brings hope where there is heartbreak. In the middle of 1914, the world was at war. World War I was raging on. The troops were fighting. And Christmas of 1914 saw a few soldiers climb out of their trenches yelling Merry Christmas at one another in their native languages. At first, they thought it was a trap. But not knowing what to do, each side came out one at a time until they met in the middle, trusting one another just if for a brief day, that there was something about that day that was worth more than whatever they were fighting for, that they celebrate this day together, that they for a moment see one another as human beings and not as weapons. Let me tell you, God comes to bring peace in the midst of war, not to bring peace because there is an absence of it. The world is a mess sometimes. Our lives are messy sometimes. And it is into that mess that God comes, not because there's an absence of it, but God comes because God knows what a baby knows. Nothing but love. God comes in the form of a child, in need of our love just as we are in need of God's love. In a moment, we will light these candles. And these candles will be for us, a representative reminder of God's love for us individually, personally, and collectively. God does not come because there is light. God comes because there is darkness. And God comes to be the light and to shine his light through you, that the world might escape from that darkness. I'm going to give you some instructions on how we're going to do this. If you've been with us here at St. Paul's while I've been here, there is a tradition that I have in my family, which spans back multiple generations of clergy people over probably something like 100 years of Christmas Eve services. But I have to tell you this particular story because it's tradition. And that is, as we light these candles, we're going to do it in this way. Donnie, will you come help me with this? You need your candle. First, make sure you have your candle. But you're going to hold the candle vertical that is lit and approach the unlit candle on the horizontal until it is lit. And once it's lit, then you're going to return it to vertical so that the wax doesn't drip all over the carpet or your neighbor's knee or anything like that. And parents, if you've got little ones or slightly older ones or people next to you that you're worried about with fire, make sure that you pay close attention to them, because the story in my family goes that my mother's grandfather once leapt over 2 rows of folding chairs to prevent a young girl from lighting her brother's, no, a young boy from lighting his sister's hair on fire. There's a lot of wood in here. There's a lot of hair, at least out there. Let's keep this fire on the candles. But at this point, let's light the candles and let's share this love of God. Okay. You can go share that with the choir. A single candle, a single flame is an incredible thing. I've been told, I haven't put it to the test yet, that if you were to keep a candle in your car, if you were to get trapped in the snow, that lighting that candle can prevent hypothermia for a while, more so than not. A single candle can bring light to an entire room. A single candle is enough to read by. A single candle can keep us warm. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Take a moment, look at your candle. Watch the flame flicker and dance. And consider how much light the candle gives off for us. As we light these candles, let us sing the first verse of Silent Night. Light is not meant to be hoarded. God's light comes into this world for us individually, that our messy lives might be full of God's love. But it is not for us to hold on to. God's light comes into this world that we might be willing to take it and to share it with those around us. Will you stand? Now take a moment and raise your candles up into the air. And it's hard because the stained glass in here is really bright and it puts off a lot of light, but I promise you, if the stained glass were off, you would notice the room getting a whole lot brighter because we are willing to share our light with the world around us. So good friends, if you can, hold your arm up long enough. We will sing Joy to the World. And if you can't hold it up, that's okay. The person next to you might. But let us sing Joy to the World, knowing that God's light comes into this world, not that it might just be for us, but that we might share it with the world. Let us sing, good friends. And so, good friends, before you blow your candles out, I invite you to just take a moment and enjoy them. Take a moment and consider what God's love in your life means for you this day. Because I can tell you, friends, I know your lives are messy. I know your lives are imperfect. I know your lives are hard. They all are. And yet, God comes to love you just as you are. God comes to love you so that you would love others. The manger is not the end of our journey, but it is merely the beginning. So, good friends, as we go forth from this place, eventually extinguishing our candles, let this light shine into our hearts, and let us shine into the world. Amen.